When you think of women's wrestling, the names you always hear: Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Alexa Bliss,
Rhea Ripley.
But there's one name in there that people don't ever talk about a lot, and that name is Iyo Sky. Language barrier, small frame, but managed to succeed in the big leagues in the land of the giants. All the hardships that came her way, Iyo Sky is at the top of women's wrestling. Iyo Sky, formerly known as Io Shirai, wrestled in Japan for many years. Started her career in STARDOM, where she would make a name for herself and become the best wrestler in the world. Iyo won every championship in STARDOM. She dominated right away, becoming the first ever Grand Slam champion in STARDOM. She had banger matches with Mayu Iwatani, Miko, Kairi Hujo. She was taking over Japan. Nobody could touch her. Rossy Ogawa himself said that Iyo was the ace of STARDOM and that she was the best wrestler in the world. She's the first wrestler ever in history named by Tokyo Sports to win 3 consecutive Wrestler of the Year awards: 2015, 2016, and 2017. This girl was really out here three-peating like Jordan. For many years, Iyo was the best wrestler in Japan, but it was time for a change. She had already accomplished everything there was, and it was time to take over. It was time to jump the ship. It was time to join the big leagues, the WWE. They eventually signed her in 2018, where she would be announced at a live event in Tokyo. Her official debut was at the Mae Young Classic, where she made it all the way to the finals, even pinning Rhea Ripley clean to get her. She would eventually lose to Toni Storm and make her way to NXT, but that didn't kill her momentum though. Iyo was booked like a star from the moment she got to WWE. Triple H loved her as soon as she came through the door. In NXT, Iyo was making a name for herself, but eventually would get stale as a babyface. But this was the moment. This was the moment that changed everything. Iyo lost in a steel cage match against Shayna Baszler, and she had finally had enough. This was the moment that changed everything in her career. Iyo turned heel. She turned on her best friend Candice LeRae. This was the moment that really put her on the main event scene. A heel Io Shirai. No more smiling, no more anything. This is when she became the Iyo that was in Japan. She came out the next week on NXT basically saying, "I don't need none of y'all niggas, I'm on my own." Iyo was dominant in NXT when she turned heel. Nobody could stop her. She won the NXT Championship in 2020 against Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair in a triple threat match. The match was a banger. Charlotte Flair had Rhea Ripley in a finger four leg lock, and Iyo did a moonsault off the top rope, pinning Rhea Ripley in the process. This was her moment. This was her first championship win in WWE. Even Triple H had to pop off for the one time. I mean, damn, Hunter. Bro really does love this woman. She would hold the title for 304 days and had banger matches with Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, Shotzi, Toni Storm, and she even pinned Sasha Banks in a non-title match in NXT. There was not a woman that could stop her, and she wanted to face the biggest challenge of them all. She called out Rhea Ripley to a match saying, "I'm not afraid of nightmares, and I'm gonna beat your ass like I did before." This match was the best match of Io's title reign with the title. Her and Rhea Ripley put on a banger. I mean, like, this match was crazy. It felt like a squash match because Iyo was beating the hell out of Rhea. She kicked Rhea so hard, Rhea's ear started bleeding. Rhea was doing everything, but Iyo had a counter for everything. She had a sunset flip powerbomb out the ring through the announce table. I was in awe when I saw this. Like, dawg, this little ass girl just did this to Rhea Ripley. She went back in the ring. Iyo hit her with a moonsault and retained her title. But eventually she would drop the belt to Raquel Gonzalez at Stand and Deliver, and then Iyo would take a hiatus. After this, a lot of people was wondering when Iyo was gonna go to the main roster because she was in NXT for so long. She would be floating around during NXT 2.0, not really having a career direction at all. A lot of people was wondering when she was gonna get called up. At Stand and Deliver, Iyo did a moonsault off the top rope and broke her ankle on the announce table. She was out for a long time. And there was reports coming out from Dave Meltzer and other news outlets saying that Iyo was leaving WWE. She was out the door. Apparently Vince McMahon didn't see no value in Iyo, so she was gonna go right back to Japan. A scandal happened with Vince McMahon. He stepped down. Triple H took over WWE and the head of creative, and the first person he called, Io Shirai. She would make her debut at SummerSlam with Bayley and Dakota Kai, and the team Damage Control would be created. And they were immediately targeting the head of the snake, Bianca Belair. Bianca was dominating the division, and Bayley wanted to take her down. In a recent interview with Chris Van Vliet, Bayley said that Damage Control was created just to get Iyo over, and Triple H wanted this woman to be champion. While most people probably was looking at Iyo as just one of Bayley's lackeys and not really important, no. What they didn't know is Bayley had the best wrestler in the world by her side. The fans didn't even know. Damage Control would continue feuding with Bianca throughout the year. It was time for the big fish to swim in the pond. Bayley came out talking about how she got an opportunity to get a #1 contendership match against Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's title. Dakota and Iyo was pissed because they felt like Bayley was being selfish. They was like, what about us? Bayley gave her triple threat opportunity to Iyo. Iyo won the triple threat match to become the #1 contender to fight Bianca at Backlash for the Raw Women's title. This is the moment that changed everything. This one match is the sole reason why Iyo Sky is at the top. Iyo versus Bianca, Backlash, Puerto Rico. Samantha Irvin is doing her introductions, and out of nowhere, the crowd just starts erupting for Iyo. You would have thought this woman was from Puerto Rico. They were chanting loud with Iyo chants throughout her introduction and booing Bianca Belair. Soon as the bell rung, the crowd just was on Iyo's side from start to finish. Bianca Belair was never booed since coming up to the main roster as a face, so this was huge. Iyo had the crowd on the palm of her hands. Iyo was pulling out everything in this match. Michael Cole even said this was the Iyo Sky that the WWE Universe has been waiting for. A lot of people are starting to speculate that Iyo doesn't need damage control, she's already good enough on her own, and that Bayley was holding her back. The back and forth, the reversals, the chemistry between Iyo and Bianca is just unbelievable. Bayley and Dakota would come down to the ring, Bianca would come out with the win, but this is exactly what Iyo needed to boost her stock and become a main eventer. Money in the Bank was coming up in a couple months and Iyo was the favorite to win. Iyo won Money in the Bank in London. The crowd erupted for her. This was the moment. This was the push that everybody been wanting. The fans been wanting. As a lackey to winning Money in the Bank. SummerSlam was a few months away. Everybody thought Iyo was gonna fail her cash in because they didn't think that WWE would actually put the belt on her, but they did. Iyo told Asuka backstage on SmackDown that she was gonna walk out SummerSlam as champion. Asuka told her she was not worried at all. Bianca wins the triple threat. Everybody thought it was going to be Asuka retaining because Bianca had just had a long title reign and she immediately won it back. Fans was pissed about that. And then out came Iyo. She was running down the ramp like she was Usain Bolt. Iyo would hit Bianca's leg with the briefcase and cash in. And there it was. She was champion. Mind you, this woman is a heel and the crowd erupted for her becoming champion. The plan was finally finished. Iyo Sky was at the top of the women's division as champion, beating Bianca Belair, a pillar of the company. Throughout her title reign, a lot of people might say that her title reign was bad, but if you really look at it, there were no other credible faces that she can go up against to fight. She had already beat everybody. Beat Bianca at Crown Jewel, Asuka on SmackDown, Charlotte, Michin. There was nobody else left for her to face. The Royal Rumble was coming up and Bayley was the favorite to win. Bayley won the Royal Rumble and then cracks and damage control started to happen even more. The additions of Kairi Sane and Asuka being added to damage control. Bayley started to feel like an outsider and an afterthought. Damage control had finally did it. They turned on Bayley, the woman that brought her into WWE and pushed her to the moon. After Iyo turned on Bayley, Bayley said that she chooses Iyo to fight at WrestleMania for the WWE Women's Championship. Bayley was finally champion again for the first time in 4 years. Eventually, she was just coasting around and just random tag matches on Raw. Nothing really important. Sonya Deville returned and formed a faction with Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler called Pure Fusion Collective. They attacked Damage Control and wrote them off of TV. Damage Control would turn weeks later as faces. Iyo, Kairi, Dakota will return in all black. And this is when Iyo became incredibly over with the crowd as a face for the first time on the main roster. Iyo was getting over. Mind you, this woman haven't even cut a promo yet. Hasn't said a word and she immediately got over just off of in-ring ability only. No promo, no character, no crazy gimmick, just being purely the best wrestler in the company. The Royal Rumble was coming up and Iyo was the favorite to win. Rhea Ripley was champion at the time and they were teasing Rhea versus Iyo all throughout the year since 2023 actually. So everybody thought that it was going to be Iyo versus Rhea at WrestleMania. Every news outlet, everybody on Twitter, everybody online, social media said that Iyo was going to win the Rumble. She had so much hype going into it, but once WWE announced that Charlotte Flair was returning at the Rumble, all that went out the window. This woman got pyro in her damn entrance. It was over for Iyo since day one when that happened. Charlotte Flair won the Royal Rumble as expected and got booed the following night on Monday Night Raw. Rhea was walking backstage, she saw Iyo sitting down, and then Iyo said, "Maybe I will see you at WrestleMania," and got attacked by Liv Morgan. Rhea came out to help Iyo and accidentally hit Liv Morgan, which caused a disqualification. Iyo was sad as hell. I thought that Iyo was about to crash out on Rhea like she did Candice LeRae at NXT. The next week on Raw, it was a tag match of Dakota and Iyo versus Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Damage Control won after the match. Later on during the night, Rhea said that she was going to give Iyo a title shot since he cost her the match, but she said she didn't owe her one and she was giving it to her because she wanted to. That was weird. I mean, like, you just cost this woman the damn opportunity to become in the chamber. But the match wasn't happening at the Elimination Chamber. It was happening in the Raw after. Bianca won the chamber, pinning Liv Morgan. After the chamber, she's walking out the entranceway. Rhea Ripley came out and Io came out. People thought it was going to be a triple threat. Rhea was not losing that belt on Monday Night Raw. The main event of Raw on Netflix. Rhea versus Io for the WWE Women's Championship. Rhea's about to hit the Riptide off the top rope. Io hit a Hurricane Rana over the moonsault. 1, 2, 3. Io had just pinned Rhea Ripley clean on Raw. Something that's unheard of in the Triple H era. Io had made history that night as the first woman to win both of the new designed women's championships. Next week on Raw, Io got a nice reception from Madison Square Garden, crowd chanting Io. The crowd was starting to get behind her. Io was a face champion and she was over with the crowd despite speaking no English at all. Everybody's been dying to see Rhea versus Bianca for the longest, including me. But when you really think about it, I think that match deserves a long-term storytelling build. Rhea and Bianca are both faces. Do you really want the biggest women's match ever built off of 7 weeks? No. So I think Io winning was the right decision to cause friction between Rhea and Bianca, and they can easily main event WrestleMania 42. Triple H loves long-term storytelling. After weeks of the same old shit, Adam Pearce finally had the balls to say it was going to be a triple threat match at WrestleMania. Triple H posted a poster and said 3 pillars of the women's division. The boss himself said it. Triple H has given Io praise so much throughout her career and been her biggest supporter since day one. Often calling her the best in the world when she was in NXT many times. The build was bad, but this really did change Io's career. Backlash, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, and being treated like an afterthought. Triple H had a plan. He had an idea to get Io even more over as a babyface. The match was set, night 2, Io, Bianca, Rhea, triple threat match for the women's title. This was the best match of the WrestleMania weekend in my opinion, even getting a 5-star rating from Dave Meltzer. Everybody had Bianca winning because Bianca was undefeated at WrestleMania. The match was about to be over. Io hit the over the moonsault off the top rope on top of Bianca, pinning her the same way she won her NXT championship. A lot of people thought Rhea was going to take the pin, but Bianca took the pin. Not only did Bianca lose her WrestleMania streak, but she got pinned in the process. That was crazy. She pinned 2 of the biggest stars in the company clean. That is unheard of. A lot of people throughout this whole entire build were saying that Io was the pin taker, and that's the only reason why she took the belt off of Rhea. That never made no sense to me though. So Rhea can take a pin from Io, but she can't take a pin from Bianca? Rhea can get pinned by Io, someone she's never beaten, but she can't get pinned by somebody she's already beaten? That's just burying Io at that point. Iyo Sky had beat 2 of the biggest stars in the company on the grandest stage of them all. She did something that Asuka and Shinsuke Nakamura never could, win at WrestleMania. She made history as the first ever Japanese wrestler in over 27 years to win at WrestleMania. This was the win that Io needed to cement her legacy in WWE as an official main eventer. The one people say that can't cut a promo, the one people say that isn't over, has no charisma, no personality. She's always had a good personality the fans can connect with her facial expressions. All this ties back to getting over organically with the crowd, simply off being just the best wrestler in the company. In my opinion, Iyo Sky, Io Shirai is the greatest women's wrestler of all time already, in my opinion. When you look at the stuff she did in Japan, I just feel like nobody could ever top that. Despite all the adversity and the disadvantages she might have, Io has climbed to the top and officially put her name in the conversations as officially a pillar